Coming up on this episode of The Power of Real Estate.
Take responsibility for the choices that you make. And if you're not achieving the things that you want to achieve, then I would be taking an inventory about how much I really want to achieve it.
Michelle, are you ready?
I was born ready.
She spent over 20 years as a successful realtor and realtor coach, recipient of over 40 sales, leadership, and literary awards from the legendary Music Row in Nashville. This is The Power of Real Estate with Michelle Moore.
Hello, 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 and welcome to The Power of Real Estate. I have producer Jimmy in the studio with us this morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing better now that your mic's on.
It always helps.
That's right.
I thought you'd like it the other way, though.
That's right. Keep you quiet. All right. I just realized that I haven't done my part with the podcast stuff that we do. That's so funny. You're like, I'm good. Oh, wait a minute. All right.
Calling the kettle black, are we?
That's right. All right. Hope y'all are doing good today. We're going to talk about choices. Oh, man. Okay, so here's full disclosure. So I always say, yes, I coach people, but I also have a coach. I've had the same coach for almost 6 years now. This October will be 6 years.
And I asked you a while back if your coach had a coach, and you were going to check on that.
Oh, I totally forgot. Yeah, I got to check on that one. I'm going to text him today. We'll find out.
And then if he has a coach?
That
Got to find out if that coach has a coach.
That's right. A couple of things that came up, or something that came up specifically that I want to talk about today is about choices. And it's interesting because recently I was on Facebook and a lady, I had to read it twice because I just couldn't even believe this woman would even put this as a comment. She said that, well, I had to get Netflix because I couldn't get cable or something or satellite. I don't know what she was talking about on that other reason, or for the reason. But I just thought you had to get Netflix. And so I wrote, you did not have to get Netflix. First of all, you could have got PureFlix, which is another service. You could not even have Netflix. You could, because you could not watch TV.
Now, I don't know her age. Could you tell her age approximately?
No, it wasn't somebody I necessarily
Because I'm dating myself by saying this, but when I was in the 70s, when I was a child, we had 4 channels.
Yeah, right.
And we didn't have to have a remote because the kids were the remote.
Yeah, I've heard
Change
about
it to
these.
Channel 4. Channel 2.
My husband says he was the remote control for his dad.
Exactly.
His
We all
brothers.
were, yeah.
See, when I was born, we already had a remote control TV. It was color, too.
Wow. So we had black and white until I was about 7.
It's because you're old.
No, it's because my mom and dad had a TV at work. It's like, why are you going to buy a new one if this one works?
Because this one not color. All right, so seriously, that's what she said. And I thought, man, I have really been thinking a lot about choices. And so I brought up my coach because my coach and I got to talking about it. We were just talking about choices in general. Somebody will say, well, I didn't get to that because I had to do such and so. No, you chose to do such and so. We all make choices every day, all the time. And so if you choose not to do it, then you didn't do it because you chose not to. You chose to do something else instead. So you choose to go to your closings. You choose whether or not you're going to call your database. You choose whether or not you're going to build, a database to be able to consistently touch your sphere of influence. You choose whether or not to go on coffee appointments. You choose whether or not to have a good listing presentation. You choose whether or not that you're going to practice your scripts. You see where I'm going with this? You choose whether or not you're going to do something.
And regardless if you're in real estate or not, you're going to have a tendency, most humans do, to do the things you like first.
Or that you think you're good at, which usually you like the things you're good at.
Yeah, so if you're not a big fan of touching the database, it's probably going to the bottom of your list.
Yeah.
You might have to move it up.
Yeah, every day. So here's the thing. You make a really good point, Producer Jimmy, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your A things, you got to have done today, A-level things are at the top of the list, and you start at the top of the list. And so, you can time block. I love time blocking. I have different projects and things that I do, just like, preparing for recording podcasts. That's a time block for me. It's even just preparing for our meetings and our times together when we are recording the show. I time block for writing. when I need to write on something, whether it's writing a class or writing a new book, whatever that is, I'm always time blocking, saying, okay, I'm going to work on this project from 1 to 3. I'm going to make my calls from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I'm going to go to a lunch from 11 to whatever, and maybe have a work lunch or whatever, business lunch, and then come back, and from 1 to 3, I'm going to do this or that. And then from 3 to 4, I'm going to do this or that. And so that helps, whether it's making calls, returning calls, whatever. But all of that is a choice. You can you choose whether or not the day is going to run you or you're going to run the day too, by the way.
And I would almost suggest putting things that you're not crazy about doing at the beginning.
If those are things that are essential to to being successful. But I think you make a really good point that you made earlier when you said, a lot of times people, when they don't like something or are not good at it or whatever, they put it toward the bottom of the list. But some of those things, most of the time, are essential to your success. And so at the end of the day, just commit to doing what needs to be done and choosing that.
You may not realize you're putting it at the bottom of the list. It's just kind of like, oh, I'm doing this, do that. It's like, I'll get to that tomorrow. Then tomorrow gets pushed back to the next day. And, I'll give you an example. I'm not really in sales, but I would enjoy doing the tracking part a lot more than I would enjoy calling somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you called 100 people. Now you need me to break it down and how long there was a phone call and what was the conversion ratio. See, that to me, that's fun.
Yeah. Producer Jimmy, nerd boy.
But making the call, not so much.
Yeah. We'd make a great team because I get on the phone talking and you can get the little stopwatch out and time me. Because I don't want to do the tracking necessarily.
But pointing at the watch, wrap it up, let's go.
That's right.
Time for the call.
Yep, you're at 3.5 minutes. And I say I don't like the tracking. Actually, I do like the tracking. You know what I like? I'm an achiever, so I like to be able to tick mark another person that I've talked with. It's that another thing. I think that's important. But the point is your mindset about what you're doing and how you're doing it, how you're spending your time. Don't look at, I have to do something, because quite frankly, you don't have to do much of anything, really.
You just have to order Netflix. That's it.
That's right. I'm like, oh, my goodness.
And pay taxes.
That's right. Yeah. But the point is you get to choose. And so when you have that shift in your mindset as well, it's like, I'm choosing to do something. So when you don't do something next time that you really needed to get done, I would say, you're going to have to be some pretty introspective time where you go, okay, did I really avoid that? Could I have gotten that done today? Why am I not getting that done? Why am I, it might be because like what producer Jimmy said, where you just don't like it or you're not good at it or you don't enjoy it. So you just keep putting it off. And just being mindful. What is it in the 10-step program? The first step is acknowledging you have a problem. And so acknowledge that you have a problem with doing this or that and just work on the breakthrough of that, getting that thing done, whatever that is, whether that's calling your sphere of influence. But don't make excuses. Just take responsibility for the choices that you're making, because at the end of the day, ultimately, there's only one person that is going to be responsible for your success or your failure, and that is you. Y-O-U, you. I remember when I was trying to finish my national designation program. I don't know if I ever told you this story, producer Jimmy, but it was right at Christmas. I was sitting in my office one night, and I only had a couple of more invaluable lessons to write, and I had left a couple of them that I knew were going to be pretty difficult to write. I'd left them for last. Because you breeze through the other 15, you got 17 total. I needed 2 more that I needed to write. They were just going to take some more brain power, heavy lifting for me. And so I was sitting in my office. It was about 6:30 at night, and my phone started to ring, my cell phone. And I looked down, and it was my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law never really calls me. He calls my husband. And I had no idea what he wanted. And I thought, but you know what? I've got this goal, this deadline I've set for myself, and I really want to get this done. And you know what I ended up doing? I ended up not answering the phone. I flipped the phone over, put it on vibrate or silent. I flipped the phone over so I wouldn't even see if someone was calling me. My kids and husband were home. Someone needs me. They can leave a voicemail. But what I remember thinking to myself is, he doesn't know my goals. And he's not going to protect my goal. He's not going to see to it that I'm meeting my goals. And no one is unless I do. It's up to me to protect this time and make sure that this happens. And so guess what I did? I flipped the phone over, like I said, after putting the phone on vibrate, put the phone down and finished writing that invaluable lesson that night. And I met my goal. I set the deadline and I met the deadline because I stuck to it. Called him back the next day. It turned out he was just wanting to know what to get the kids for Christmas. Totally could wait. And I was so glad that I didn't answer that phone.
Well, also, had it been like an emergency, he would have kept calling.
Yeah.
And when you only got the one call, you're going, yeah, he can wait.
Yeah, well, he called my husband if there was an emergency or my mother-in-law, and so anyways, but my kids have phones. And so if it was really something, but I had no idea what it was. And I figured it was probably nothing really that big and important. But the bottom line is, and if it was, he'd leave me a voicemail and I was going to check it in an hour. And what can I do? He lives in another state. What can I do in that hour? That really is going to make any kind of a big difference. So the bottom line is you got to protect where you're going. If that's what you really want to do, you got to protect. You got to set those goals, set the vision, get your eyes fixed on that vision of where you're going, and then commit to it and do the things that you need to do, and which include choosing your time wisely. Don't say and make excuses and blame shift. Take responsibility for the choices that you make. And if you're not achieving the things that you want to achieve, then I would be taking an inventory about how hard or how much I really want to achieve it. Because are you willing to do the things that you don't like to do, maybe not good at? I can tell you, Producer Jimmy, when we started doing the radio show in Nashville, before we did the podcast, I had a radio show for 3.5 years. Producer Jimmy was the producer of as well. And, for 6 months, I got to tell you, it was about every bit of about 6 months, Jimmy. I don't know if you know this, but I kind of dreaded coming in because I was so stressed out because I didn't think I was really all that good. I didn't know how to do it. It wasn't something I had been doing. I hadn't hosted a radio show before.
Yeah.
And so, but what I did realize is as I, week after week, came in, dissected, reflected, all of that, would talk to Jimmy, talk to another producer as well, get advice, and really listen to the shows and all of that. I worked at getting better at the things that I thought I could do better and that I wasn't maybe necessarily doing the best that I could, and getting input and advice from those that knew more than me, and took that advice and applied the advice, worked on it and practiced and all of that. And guess what? 5 to 6 months later, I was having fun. It became enjoyable.
It can definitely be a grind, and the same thing goes with the podcast. People think it's like, oh, I can talk. It's like, no, there's a lot of prep and planning that goes into having a successful radio show or podcast.
Yeah. And, of course, having a talented producer doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, I hope that helps you, and we'll see you next time on The Power of Real Estate. Make sure that you You take responsibility for your choices and you choose wisely so that way you can get where you're wanting to go. We'll see you next time on The Power of Real Estate with Michelle Moore.
Realtors, if you're ready to jumpstart your business, Michelle has your realtor coaching covered at realestatecoachingsimplified.com. Everything from coaching online teachings to in-person programs. Join us next time for The Power of Real Estate with Michelle Moore.